practices in order to sort of conceal the extent of the neglect that exists within those councils.
Yeah. And you're saying that because you're talking to other people who've been aggrieved or seen the warning signs, and that none of this is coming from the accountability bodies. No, it's not coming from the people who are supposed to be or tasked to be investigating it. It's ordinary people who have now banded together. And at that time we were given evidence in Stormont. There was a number of issues concerning Derry and Strabane Council alone, wasn't there? There was a number of the stuff that you were given testimonies to was to do with this specific council.
Well, there was. We gave at the start a definition of professional corruption, and professional corruption is not necessarily about
people would
bribes.
Think, give me a brown envelope full of cash and I'll get your.
It's not
extension done.
It's more about unethical conducts and sort of an abandonment of public service values like honesty and transparency. And we set out a by no means exhaustive list of what professional corruption involves, and that could be like, for instance, unofficially removing documentation from the planning portal and file and then saying it never existed, or using false and misleading evidence, which we have raised a concern about, and quite a number of other things. But the fact is that definition is now enshrined in Hansard, but a lot of it was from my own experience, but then again supported by experience in other councils. But from my experience, I've experienced everything that's listed in in Hansard as professional corruption. Is what I've experienced dealing with Derry and Strabane.
There's a few things that come to mind there. I mean, there was a former senior council official who was retiring and was given a very hefty payoff, and there was a dispute at the time from some independent councillors whether this person was entitled to it because the service level had apparently been broken. And there's for a week apparently, and there was other workers who broke their service by maybe a day or two and didn't get it, and there was allegations and claims at the time that this person's contract had disappeared and couldn't be found. There was also other issues over tendering in Derry and Strabane, where at the start when independent councillors were bringing it up, they were basically told by the parties, sit down and shut up, you're not in here to about transparency, you're in here to undermine. And there was eventually an investigation, and there was dozens, I think it was near 100 recommendations, but in that investigation too, they described the procedures or keeping of information as shambolic. So there does seem to be a pattern here of things not being available, as you say, no notes being taken, documents just going missing. Shocking. Like,
I think that's alive and well today. Even at the judicial review, it had been one of the things that was highlighted. It had been in the extraordinary audit, it had been one of the things that highlight the lack of information retained. It was very interesting listening to Dean there talk about that as well. But the long and the short is, if you don't have the information, then it comes to prosecution or it comes to answering questions at any stage. Well, if the information's not there, you can't challenge people at all. But these same people are the keepers of that information. And that's it's a real problem that we have. I think there's another problem when we talk about, Dean was mentioning earlier about the systems that were in place, particularly in 2013 for planning and fraud and looking into and being aware of. But if there's no desire to prosecute when these things raise their heads, there's no desire to investigate fully, there's no desire to challenge the information that's coming back. And I'll give you an example. So somebody misled the audit office in Causeway Coast and Glens. A very senior figure in the organisation misled the audit office. The audit office highlighted that in the extraordinary audit, and that was investigated. This person was investigated. The email had been sent to the audit office. It was doctored. It was changed 3 times, and it had gone through her desk 3 times. Now that person said, I don't remember if I read the email before I said it. That was enough to protect that person and get her off with what she'd done. That actually happened in the investigation that has just passed. she was allowed to get off with misleading the audit office.
There doesn't seem to be a wall there, Paddy. It doesn't seem to be a wall. They do this, and they're wondering, is that deliberate? You know, if it's deliberate, why? Like and is it similar in England or Scotland or Wales, or is it different?
And where does the public sit in all of this too?
Well, I think
it's public money. So why are these not
probably disillusioned? If the public are going, oh, they're at it again, because we've had Red Sky, we've had RHI, we've had the whole Irish Robinson stuff. We've had our people buying, properties and their different people's names. Is the public just so bitter that's what passes here for politics, or what is going on?
Well, sorry, Paddy. Those are the ones. Those are the scandals we've heard of.
Yeah.
Like the aggregates levy credit scheme is one that really isn't out there that much. My boy sort of has passed on to the radar a lot as well. Although it has become a bit more prominent now with Buried program. But there's 2 points that sort of come out of what you're saying there, Gary. And the first one for me is that if these behaviours are happening in the councils, that documentation's going missing, they're not giving straight answers, they're using false and misleading information, etc., then that must be viewed as professional corruption. So could you, generally as a member of the public, could you honestly trust that a professionally corrupt organisation to be alert to, never mind investigate, impropriety, irregularity or fraud that's raised by the public? For me, absolutely not. The second point I would say or mention is in terms of, is there this will to investigate? I don't believe there is. We've been the group within the gathering, we have a group that looks specifically at planning and councils. And we're all sort of well versed with our own campaigns, and we compare notes and whatever. And what we're sort of working out and what we're trying to term it, and we haven't settled on a term yet, but we're either thinking of structural blindness or structural bias or structural discrimination. We haven't settled, as I say, but it's where it's where it should be plainly obvious to everyone that there is something seriously wrong here, but all organisations that should have a role in keeping things above board and proper throw up structural barriers to actually investigating it. It's the simplest questions that are very easy to establish. The factual substance of those are the ones that the organisations, the scrutiny bodies, don't want to look at. And that's a very different approach. You're saying about England and Scotland, whatever, I don't know, but down south they have a very different approach in terms of when a member of the public raises a concern. Here, the approach has been, let's avoid looking at if there's any factual substance in what they're saying here. Down south, we've seen the deputy chief of An Bord Pleanála jailed for 2 months within the last, I think it was June or May. And there's a group down.
He must have been really caught with his trousers down, because when we look at the whole things with 26 counties in the past, we buried a heron and I wanted in the horses and all of that, or why how did he go to jail when, because there's this perception that it is rotten and corrupt, No,
what you seen was the allegations came largely from either the media or concerns from external bodies or the public. But what you've seen is, and there's a report now, and it's from An Bord Pleanála, and it's called Examination of Certain Matters. Now, it wasn't released officially, but it was leaked, and it's there on social media and whatever. But it gives a fascinating insight and a comparison as to how they approach the situation of sort of concerns about planning down south and how we approach them here. Because what they are setting out was exactly what we were arguing for in the gathering when we gave our evidence. So we were saying the audit office report didn't go far enough here. You haven't examined the audit office said they took an overarching approach, and we were saying you need to look at the individual concerns of the cases that you're saying you're receiving, because if you establish the factual substance, you'll probably establish an organisational pattern or pathological pattern of that there's something much more wrong here. And all of our bodies here appear to want to avoid establishing the factual substance of individual concerns. Even the review that's being carried out by consultants of Derry Strabane Council presently, they're very clear, we're not going to look at individual cases here. And without looking at individual cases, you won't establish the patterns of where the professional corruption is.
You were saying before, Dean, in the conversation we before about the lack of a special court. Can you explain that? Am I right here that we don't have one in the 6 counties, but there is one, and that leaves it open to interpretation then when it goes to the ordinary courts by judges who may not be au fait or fully trained in planning issues. Is that right, or did I miss?
It probably maybe doesn't touch so much on the whistleblowing and irregularity, but England and Wales have a special sort of planning court where the judges are experts in planning and environmental law. Here we don't. So what we have is just the High Court dealing with everything from a murder to judicial review on planning or whatever. So the judges here actually do recognise themselves that they don't have that expertise. But where I would criticise the judges here is they should be alert to plainly, objectively, verifiably false and misleading evidence, and they tend either to be ambivalent to it or not able to sort of grasp the issues.
I'm not a fan of judges. I'm not saying we should have more of them with that, but it's just like, it's my role as an independent counsellor. I've come up with numerous cases and talked to people who are saying that there's no confidence in council regarding architects. People are afraid to rock the boat. Currently dealing with one case with somebody who had a bit of land in around Shipley Street and wanted to put a dozen or 14 social housing units and had to jump through every hoop in the book, and then was rejected and was deemed withdrawn. And then as soon as the banks moved down and took that land, somebody else swans in with almost the exact same plans and is given planning permission for 14. It's just the perception there is that it's completely and absolutely wrong. Regarding the issue of whistleblowing, surely, it given all these obstacles that you have so eloquently outlined there, is it worth it? Is it, can you get a result, and does it have an effect